Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited today. Something we are going to be going over, Bitcoin's price. We always include that, right? Seems to be our current dollar in this ecosystem that we are all so fascinated with, what are now being called DeFi. Bitcoin is the original DeFi, ladies and gentlemen. It's been that way for a while now. But we're going to be taking a look at one Matic, Waves, and Algorand. These are some of the next things I think that are going to be really exciting, and I want to go over why, and I want to see if you guys can find the mistake that I made in Algorand when I made the post the other night from our private group. So for those of you that already know what's coming, well, let's get ready and dive right in. Oh, wait, hold on. I got to click a button. There we go. Silly me. Okay, so let's start off with Algorand. Now, for those of you in the private bear den, so for we've got a private community. For those of you that are interested in Algorand, I made this post the other day. Obviously, this one is actually pretty funny. It says, we're talking about this enough, so if you don't know what this looks like to me, please just join our private group and ask questions there. But anyways, I actually drew this wrong. Can anyone tell the mistake I made? It was pointed out to me in the private group last night. Yeah, I drew phase D over here, when in fact phase D has to actually wait here. So Algorand's a little bit further along behind in making this trade that it's going to, but it looks like it's primed to go. So keep an eye on it, as it will likely move into phase E here relatively quickly. So we'll go over what that looks like a bit more specifically. One of the things I wanted to look at here was one of the composite ideas, is that Binance is actually offering isolated margin trading for one Waves, WRX, Tomo, SNX as well. And this is important because what we're looking for are the whales waves, and whales make waves. So when you're looking for the waves that they make, it's actually often in the details, right? And Binance is a big exchange, so they have a fairly good bird's eye view of the ocean, and you can see the whales pretty clearly from there. So when you see things like free margin trading, like, well, pretty much, right? We are also excited to have zero interest promotion for borrowing. That means free margin trading, ladies and gentlemen. That's exactly what that says. Zero interest rates for trading, right? You can, they're offering the whales a big advantage here to play with some of these tokens. So right now, what I want to do is I want to start with one. Our fetch trade is still over like 100%, but let's take a look at one. So I don't want to get too far off track. This was posted in our private bear den the last few days. We've seen a beautiful falling wedge through the accumulation period. We've gone up into portion of phase D now of the Wyckoff method, and we're about to break into phase E. Now what's interesting here is, just as this is about to happen, the news comes out that you can now trade one with no interest. So you could, so just so everyone understands, when you're trading margin in Binance, you're basically borrowing money from them. But now they'll lend it to you for free. So you can, as long as you don't lose it, when you pay it back, there's no interest. So there's basically, it's insinuating that there's probably a long-term run here. So I'll tell you what, guys, we'll even incentivize the average dolphin to be a long-term holder and trader in some of these next waves that come up. That means they're saying, hey, dolphins, the whales are about to move. Play with them. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, who a year of patience is what pays off here, right? So for instance, a lot of the retail traders get wiped out in this long accumulation period here. It's really hard to do. You're talking about a 65% box range for Harmony, where over the last year it did pretty much nothing outside of that range, where probably all of a sudden, and within maybe in the next even few weeks, or like in the next week maybe, especially as they're turning on this margin-free interest trading in the next few days, we're going to see some big runs here. And I think that we can pretty much rely on this, because this is the whale watcher awesomeness. I do not care what tokens they are, but luckily, the only time I do care is if I'm given a specific. Can I look at what Binance is doing and say, oh, okay, here's the indication that the whales are going to be playing in these areas, and this is what I should be focusing on, is where those whales are going, because when they move, I can play in that wake. We're talking generally about what they call the composite man, which is anywhere between $20 to $100 million of momentum into something like this, and they can't spend it all at once. So it takes a long time, like you're talking pretty much at least like a year, 360 days, pretty much exactly a year. Crypto is pretty fast, But let's take a look at waves then, because I want to go over this, and I want to refix what happened wrong in Algorand. So here's waves. Here's another token. I haven't finished drawing this one up yet, but here you can see this is the way the ascending channel moves through the Wyckoff phasology as well. So we have A, B to the top, we're going above, which is actually going to be the D this time. Instead of the SOS being in the box range, it's going to become above it, and then you're going to drop back down and then stay above the box top here in E before we break out in this rising or ascending channel. This is going to be really important, but that means we're actually still a little further away from waves taking off than we are from one taking off, technically speaking. What I would assume to some degree by where we are now is we'll come to the top of the channel, we'll come back down, we'll test it one more time, we'll come like this, and then you'll see like a breakout. This would be generally like a wave one of something that's probably going to go quite a bit higher. We can see that the gaps and resistances on this, like once the whale starts to move, right, there's not a whole lot holding you back. Like, okay, here you have this thin layer on waves up here, right? But once you break 3,000 Satoshis, it's going to probably run all the way up here. You know, this is not a short time trade either. This could take a month or two to really deploy itself. So here you've got a 307% potential for a trade on waves. This is going to be wild, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the things that I'm so excited about in the private bear den, is us really understanding how to use these things so we can drastically reduce our limit and exposure and play in the waves while the whales are moving without having to get locked in a single trade that's not doing anything exciting while everything else is exploding. Well, okay, well, let's just be in what's exploding then. That seems like the smart trader thing to do. And in the long term, because we recognize that this is a world of venture capitalism, early seed stage stuff basically, which could totally fail, but also very volatile, we recognize the positive nature of the volatility, which is you limit exposure in terms of total portfolio value, but you increase the odds of that black swan serendipitous positive momentum through the 3, 5, or 10x because how small and illiquid these markets are, especially when we see that the whales are playing here just like they did in the traditional markets and like they have for over 100 years. Fascinating stuff to see. So I did also want to take a look at Algorand. Lastly, I did fix this. So thank you to the private bear den. I had actually drawn phase D here over here, and phase D should come up and do what's known as an SOS test, which is like a series of actually I'm not good with the terminology yet. Let's hold on here. Type in the Wyckoff, and if you want to learn it, it's free on the internet. You can find all these things, but we're producing it part of the bear den. Yes, the SOS, this portion here stands for sign of strength. That should have been easy enough. So we're looking for that breakout of the sign of strength here on Algorand, which is maybe a little bit further behind. So again, now that we know that we're in phase D, it's not I don't want to necessarily enter this position until we get to phase E like we did with Fetch. So with those of you that entered with Fetch or with XLM recently, or even RLC, which was just crazy, we saw as soon as we got here, I'm opening Fetch here, as soon as we saw the phase E breakout here, it was a nice momentum. It's been nice momentum upwards, right? Whereas in phase D, you're talking about a box range of 20%, and you've got like a week or two of exposure in there, where the same week or two of exposure in something like FET while it's going up is much more entertaining. So as a dolphin, as a trader beside the whale, I'm much more interested in where the whale is in the rest of their waves. Very, very important to keep track on that one. So we've gone over Fetch, we've gone over one, we've gone over waves, and lastly, I want to take a look at Matic and one. Yeah. We went over Matic. Yeah, there we go. Matic is actually doing the same thing that Waves is doing. Again, here what's nice is you've got a multi-year ascending channel going through the phase area. So we're just about to get into D. Now, the portion of D that we want to actually look for here is the same way that we saw with Waves, which is likely that we want to have a break above this next and a close above the box into this channel. So you can see that here as it was nice prominently kind of seen with Waves, where one of the things that we had was a clear breakout above the box recently into the top of the channel. Again, what I think is you're going to see very similar to Matic is that once we have a close above the box into the top of this channel, that means we're going to signal into E, and I'm going to be looking at positions in Matic. But for now, it's a little ways away. Anyway, guys, Join the private bear den. That's what I suggest. Look, it's $30 a month, but you get a refund no matter if you're not happy, if you don't like the information we're sharing, if you don't like the community, we just give you a refund because I don't want you there if you don't understand how valuable the community is that we have here. So you can go to the links below. You can sign up for our free newsletter or you can sign up for the private bear den, but just try it. That's what I suggest. Just try it because there's no real risk to you. You can stick around for the month, and if you're not happy, I'll give you the $30 back. But I haven't had that happen yet. Like maybe only a few times, like 3 or 4 times. Part of it is understanding that most traders are not patient enough to play this game. If you think about Matic here, we're talking about a year. 525 days of accumulation by these whales, and within the next 2 or 3 months, we're going to see a real breakout of these. That's the potential, right? This could turn around. This could all change. We could get smacked by an asteroid tomorrow. I'm not saying randomness is not involved in our life. I'm saying all things considered, if we watch the whales here, if we pay attention to the composite man theory, we can see that barring an asteroid or barring some cataclysmic event worse than the pandemic has been already, we're going to continue to break up. This is the early stage venture capital of some of the world's new rails for finance, whether it's securities or exchanges or money or currency or just data and information in general. This has changed the landscape forever. And now I don't care what the tokens are. The whales do all the hard work for me. All I need to do is look for the wake that the whales make. This is Teal with the Arcane Bear, ladies and gentlemen. God, we are going to have an exciting year too. It feels like 2017 all over again, and I want everyone to learn this. So please, whether you sign up with us or not, just understand what this is, and you will become instantly a better trader because the patience required again to watch the waves that the whales make and the wake that they leave when they move is a game of patience. So go out there, have some meditations, tell everyone that you know you love them, even your enemies, right? Because that's always the hardest one to do. Be forgiving, be patient, be loving, and enjoy these waves, ladies and gentlemen, because they are going to be some fun ones. Stay with the Arcane Bear. I'm signing off for the rest of the day. We're going to give you guys this little outro marker just to close like this. Bang.